this is Ellie, and today I want to talk to you about the 3 days of darkness. Jesus tells us what's going to happen in Mark 13, verse 24 through 32. I'll repeat that again, Mark 13, 24 through 32. I'm going to go through this scriptural passage, which gives us an idea of what will happen in the 3 days of darkness. Now, Jesus tells his disciples in those days after that tribulation. So after that tribulation, he's talking about the period of the Antichrist, the 3.5 years, which will come in the future. And I have told you on the tilma, the reign of Famat, the name of the Antichrist, which I found on the tilma of Guadalupe, which is an Islamic name, which means darkness, and is pronounced in Islam, Vomit. That after that period, which I believe he will arise in 2066, and he will gain power with the Antipope in 2075, is going to come in the future. Now, after that tribulation, Jesus says, after some time, I believe after 2075, the sun will be darkened. That's the first thing that's going to happen in the 3 days of darkness. The moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from the sky. And the powers of heaven will be shaken. The description that Jesus gives of the 3 days of darkness reveal there will be no light at all. That everything will be shaken completely, and that the stars will be falling from the sky onto the earth. Imagine you're on the earth at this time, during this time of the 3 days of darkness. Just for a second, just try to imagine it. And all of a sudden at noon, because that's about the time it's going to happen, it says the scriptures tell us at noon the darkness will fall. It's noontime, all of a sudden it becomes dark, suddenly. Suddenly, there's no light, and you're looking up into the sky, and there's these huge flashes of light coming down, and you hear these explosions coming onto the earth, and you're running for your life. According to the saints, you will be killed instantly if you're outside. But if you're inside, you'll be praying. It says, according to the Breton stigmatist, it will be about 2 days short 1 night. And everything is going to be shaken completely. It'll be the biggest earthquake that ever happened on the earth. It'll be split in two. Jesus is going to descend onto the Mount of Olives, and he's going to split it in two. And then he's going to take, because the Antichrist Famat, will be standing on the Mount of Olives, trying to ascend into heaven, telling his followers that he's going to go back to heaven. Because, as you know, the Antichrist tries to mimic Jesus and everything. And so in this scene, Jesus is descending on the Mount of Olives, and Antichrist is trying to ascend the Mount of Olives through evil. Jesus is going to take with his breath and strike the Antichrist once he splits the Mount of Olives in two, and the Antichrist will be sent to the lowest depths of hell, the 7th level of hell, for eternity. So once this happens, then the scriptures tell us, it says here, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. And this is when he's descending onto the Mount of Olives with great power and glory. So everything's going to become light that was darkness. The 3 days of darkness will become pure light and glory at the end of it. And then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the four corners of the earth, from the end of the earth to the end of the sky. So everything will be destroyed. And Jesus will take his followers up, and they will be raptured up into heaven with him, into glory with him. And the other ones that remain on the earth will be destroyed, and a new heaven and a new earth will form. The earth will not be, this world will pass away, but the new world will come, the new Jerusalem. And Antichrist Famat will be sent to the lowest regions of hell, the seventh level of hell, for all eternity. So, and if you want to read about the 3 days of darkness, and you've wondered where it is in the scriptures to get a very clear picture of it, look up in your Bible today, Mark chapter 13, verse 24 through 32. Jesus gives you a complete picture of what's going to happen. Now, that point that I made about Jesus descending on the Mount of Olives is in the Old Testament. And he's going to split the Mount of Olives in two, because he's going to open the earth to send Antichrist Famat down into the center of the earth. Because as we know from Our Lady of Fatima, she showed the 3 children of Fatima where hell is at, and she opened the earth, and they saw all of the souls, the poor souls that refused to believe in Jesus, refused to convert, refused to change their lives, in hell, in burning fire, and it terrified them. So when Jesus returns, he's going to open the earth and split the Mount of Olives in two. So you might be wondering, why is Jesus coming to the Mount of Olives? To come back, why is he going there? Well, one, because he's going to destroy the Antichrist, who's named Famat, who's trying to ascend the Mount of Olives, but also because when he left the first time from the earth, he left from the Mount of Olives. So he's returning to earth, and he's going to destroy the Antichrist, and he's going to destroy the followers. And it's interesting because St. Hildegard gives this description at the end of time, which I found very interesting. I don't know how many people have read some of her prophecies, but she said that the followers of Antichrist who took the mark will be given a chance. This is what she wrote in her prophecies. Given a chance to come with either Jesus or with the Antichrist into hell for eternity. So I thought that was a very interesting prophecy of St. Hildegard. Another prophecy I found interesting was when she talked about how during the tribulation, because Jesus tells us that after that tribulation, he's talking about in Mark chapter 13, 24 to 32, the time of the Antichrist. Okay? After that tribulation. It's going to be horrific. St. Hildegard saw a mountain of heads. So Antichrist is Islamic, and he will have those beheaded who do not take the mark. The mark will be the letter of his name, as it says in the scriptures. And his letter is the letter F, the ancient digamma. And it's the 6th letter of the ancient digamma, and it is also the 6th letter of the English alphabet. So when people try to understand the mark of Antichrist, they've tried to attribute it to somebody who's alive today, but as you know, Antichrist goes into hiding. He mimics Jesus. His name is Isa in Islam. Isa means Jesus, and he's going to come with Injil. That's the 5th book of the Islamic. Islam has 5 books, and one of the books is Injil, and it's the New Testament. And he's going to say, I'm Jesus. And people are going to believe him. He's going to work miracles, which are fake, based on using evil. And he's even going to, according to St. Hildegard, deceive about 66% of the church, the Catholic Church, even leaders and bishops and cardinals. The antipope is going to come from the Catholic Church. He's going to be Lebanese, a Lebanese cardinal. Now, a lot of people speculate and they say Francis is the antipope. He's not. The antipope to come will be one of the sons of Dan. Sons of Dan are the regions. The Bible tells us specifically in Genesis that the area of where the Antichrist and Antipope will come, the sons of Dan, which represent the snake, is Lebanon, Syria, and one portion of Israel. It was because Antichrist is going to be half Jewish and half Syrian, and the Antipope will be Lebanese. And I believe that, now this is my theory, I could be wrong, but I'm not wrong about him being Lebanese. How do I know this? Because it says that Jezebel, who tells the servants of God to eat food sacrificed to idols, because Antipope is going to do that. And so, in a way, this is what God has done in the book of Revelation. He has feminized the Antipope like a Jezebel, and like the old Eve. And the old Adam is the Antichrist, Famat, whose name means darkness, and an Islamic name. And so these two are like Jannes and Jambres. If you remember them from Moses, the book of Moses. And they are the great deceivers. Jannes and Jambres were deceptive. You may want to look them up in the Bible and read about them, but they're going to be like the new Jannes and Jambres from the Old Testament. So, anyway, as I was getting back to what I was saying, that the sons of Dan, as they are called by St. Hildegard also, which are Antichrist, who is half Jewish and half Syrian, and the Antipope, who is Lebanese, and he will not be an elected pope, the Antipope, he will be a cardinal. And St. Hildegard also says this. She's the one that said that he will not be an elected pope. He'll be a cardinal, and he will take over the church and join Antichrist of Islam. The first thing they're going to do is destroy all the crosses. And then they're going to hunt down the Christians. And this is where St. Hildegard says that she saw a mountain of heads. If you could just imagine that. A mountain. You know how big a mountain is. It's an incredible amount of people that are going to die in that time. But the good news is with our rosaries, Divine Mercy chaplets, we can mitigate and stop the gruesome plans of the Antichrist. We can stop what his plans are with God's grace. So we have to keep praying. The time of Antichrist is not now. It's not going to be for a while. The times of Antichrist Famat. God is going to give us a period of peace. It was promised by Our Lady of Fatima. So we are headed towards the warning and then a period of peace with the great monarch and the angelic pope. Then Antichrist Famat comes sometime in 2066. He goes to the Jews first, then he joins Antipope, the Lebanese Antipope, in 2075, I believe, according to the Tilma. And then sometime after that, a new world begins. But the earth will never be destroyed, it'll be transformed. So it's just the beginning of a new world. In fact, many of the visionaries tell us that God already has designed the new world. It's ready to go. He's just waiting. God is very patient with mankind. He doesn't want to lose anybody. So I thought I'd share with you that scripture passage. If you want to look it up today, Mark 13, verse 24 to 32. Take a look at it today. It's all about the 3 days of darkness. It's right there in the scriptures. Well, God bless.